Hello, welcome to the Freedom Summit for Medical Professionals. I'm your host, Doreen Steenland, and today I'd like to welcome our guest, Natalie Siston. Natalie is the program experience leader at Positive Intelligence. Informally, she's named Ninja Nat because of her deft problem solving skills. She's got 20 plus years of coaching experience, developing leaders, strengthening teams in the nonprofit, higher education, and corporate sectors. Natalie resides in Ohio with her husband and two daughters, and she's the author of a best-selling book, Let Her Out, Reclaim Who You've Always Been. In her free time, she enjoys watching her daughters dance, run, play soccer and softball, and spoiling her two rescue dogs. Natalie, welcome to the Freedom Summit. We're so glad to have you here.
I'm delighted to be with you today, Doreen. It's going to be an amazing discussion.
I am so excited about this one because the topic today is positive intelligence, and it's near and dear to my heart as well as a positive intelligence coach. So why don't we start by diving in, and you can tell us what is positive intelligence and why is this such a timely topic for our public right now?
Yes, it's so timely. We'll start from the very beginning, and I can't wait for you to share more of your experience too, Doreen, because it's just such a rich topic. Yeah. Positive Intelligence was founded by New York Times bestselling author and Stanford lecturer Shirzad Chamine, and it also has the books with the same title, Positive Intelligence. Shirzad was struggling about 10 years ago to answer the question, what's getting in the way of our personal and professional development? There are a million programs on the market. There's, 7 steps to this, 12 ways to that, four pieces to get here. And why don't any of them stick? And so he brought together a body of research, which I believe we'll dig into a little bit more, but really came up with this foundation of positive intelligence, which is all about mental fitness and how we rebuild and rewire our brains so that way we don't do what's typical, which is to go to our negative thinking patterns and instead go into our positive thinking patterns. And I don't know if I'm kind of on a roll here, Doreen, so if you want me to dive into the research, I can do that now.
Well, that is so important because what I want to point out about what you said is that we all have these patterns that we go to. They are the things that we've always gone to solve problems, and they're repetitive. And so what positive intelligence does is it highlights some of these areas that might no longer be serving you so that we can rewire those pathways and make better choices. Yeah. So tell me more about the science behind positive intelligence, if you would.
Absolutely. I wanted to go right there. So I'm glad you for a second to give the high level view of what is this. And so what really happened was a combination of 4 different areas of science: neuroscience, positive psychology, cognitive behavioral psychology, and performance science. So a lot of secondary research in those areas came to inform the backings of positive intelligence. But the main research was done using factor analysis. So when you use factor analysis, you can get to the root level. What's really at the root level of any of these problems and opportunities? What can actually be done? What can if I were to move a lever, what would it be? And so the factor analysis research, which continues to this day, by the way, the factor analysis research uncovered that we have 3 core muscles that, if strengthened, we will do exactly what you just said. We'll start to rewire our brains from the negative thinking patterns into the positive thinking patterns. And we might talk a little bit more about these today, Doreen, but I'll just explain them very briefly. So we have something called a saboteur interceptor muscle. And this is what you were talking about, those negative thinking patterns. Yeah. So the science also uncovered we have 10 negative thinking patterns. You and I probably are afflicted with 2 or 3 of these, but they're called saboteurs. And I know you're going to be pointing everybody to take this free saboteur assessment, but that's the first thing. If we can strengthen the muscle that recognizes those negative thinking patterns, we can start to make a change. And we do that by strengthening something called our self-command muscle, which is the pause and reflect and get into I like to call it getting into your body, or getting into a feeling, getting into your senses and out of your brain. And
Yeah.
that's where the rewiring starts to happen. And that allows you to then build this third muscle, which is your sage muscle, which is recognizing that in every challenge and every problem, there's a gift or an opportunity. And it's your ability to flip those negative thinking patterns into the positive thinking patterns. So if you strengthen the saboteur interceptor muscle, the self-command muscle, and that sage muscle, you're golden, right? You can actually then take all of those other programs, you can take all of the other books and put them into use, because you've got to the root cause of what's getting in the way of your own growth and development, and potentially your happiness.
This is so important. And what I love about what you said is that there are root causes to you not being able to reach your goals. And so as we're in New Year's resolution time, there are going to be lots of people who are trying to reach goals. They're trying to have New Year's resolutions, and they're not going to be successful unless they learn how to tap into these three core muscles, right, in our brain. And we know they're not real muscles. They're really pathways in the brain. And we're talking to medical people, so I want to be sure to point that out. We're not saying that there are muscles in the brain. No, no, no. We're talking about neural pathways and strengthening these different pathways so that we can manage, what is happening on the inside, and then it can come out and reflect itself on the outside. Does that make sense?
I love that you rephrased it too. And I think a lot of times we interchange positive intelligence with the idea of mental fitness.
Yes.
And so I think for a lot of people, it's easy to visualize lifting a dumbbell. It's easy to visualize building an actual muscle. And so, that's why we use the language we use, but you're exactly right. It's all about how do you build and add to those neural pathways? Because the neuroscience research shows that those pathways can be grown over time. They can be strengthened, they can be added to. And that's what we're up to with positive intelligence, is helping you get to that root cause, identify it, grab it in the moment, and say, I'm going to operate on the other pathway right now.
Yes. And I do love the phrase mental fitness, because we are a society that is consumed by fitness and those activities, and the repeating brain building activities that we do is like going to the gym, right? And actually Shirzad calls it, the gym. Basically, you're going to the gym. And so these exercises that we do to retrain your brain are just 2 minutes at a time. They're about 2 minutes. That's all.
Yeah, that's the beauty, right? That's the
beauty. So for these busy professionals, I want to point out that this sounds like it's a big, big deal, but this is something you can practically do every single day, in the middle of your day, at a patient's bedside, in the middle of a discussion, in the middle of a crisis. You can collect yourself and switch your pathways by practicing this over and over. And then what we do, just like when we go to the gym, when we're building these muscles, it then becomes almost an automatic pathway that we travel because we've practiced taking that route, right?
Exactly. And I think what's really great about the work we do at Positive Intelligence is it's based on there's these assessments we have on our website, but we also have an app guided program that over 6 weeks, it walks you through 2 core components of all of our learning and all of sustained change. So in order to have sustained change, we need 2 things. We need insight and we need muscle building. And so typically we're a really insight heavy society. We listen to a podcast, we read a book, we listen to a recording like this, Doreen. This is amazing, but this is delivering insight. Yes. Our sustained change is 20% from insight, but 80% from muscle building. And what you just described as getting yourself into a habit is what the muscle building is all about. And research shows that in 6 to 8 weeks, by doing the practices that we talk about in the positive intelligence program, these 2 minutes that you insert throughout your day. I call them, do it when I wake up, and then with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I take 2 to 3 minutes each time, and that resets you for the next phase of your day. But over 6 to 8 weeks doing that practice is when you can actually see changes from a functional MRI scan. That's where we can see the strengthened neural pathways into the more sage area of your brain, which tends to be your executive functioning areas, your limbic system, empathy circuitry. It's all strengthened in those areas, and it decreases from the amygdala and your other stress reaction areas of your brain.
So good. So what are the outcomes that someone could expect if they really jumped into this brain building mental fitness?
Yeah, so this is fascinating. So Doreen, what I do with positive intelligence is I run our client success organization. So I work with individuals and a lot of companies who have chosen to go on the mental fitness journey with positive intelligence. And one of the favorite things I do is read through the results of the surveys we send out at the conclusion of this 6-week period of time. And I think the path that a lot of people find themselves on is, first and foremost, I have gained more self-awareness in 6 weeks than in any other period of my life. And it's all because of this idea of understanding your saboteurs, understanding where they're coming from, understanding what happens on a day-to-day basis to trigger them. Once you have that awareness, you can then stop it. But without that awareness, you can't stop it. So self-awareness is the first tangible outcome that we see from many, many people. And that leads to a lot of other outcomes in terms of improved emotional intelligence, which down the line has a lot of performance factors. But people are saying, I sleep better because I'm not carrying this heavy load. I've learned how to release stress. I've learned some techniques to manage it in the moment. I'm sleeping better. My favorites are around relationships. So this heightened level of self-awareness, along with yourself doing the work, all of a sudden people show up differently in your life, whether it's your lens only or them seeing you differently. But we've heard people say, you saved my marriage.
Wow.
I have a better relationship with my teenage child. My team doesn't hate me anymore at work. I actually stepped into difficult conversations and it didn't feel so hard. And we just learned from a group of medical professionals actually who just completed the program. They conducted their own study and they reduced burnout by 29%.
Wow. 29%? That's amazing.
It's amazing. And if you think about all of you who are listening, first of all, thank you for the work you're doing. You're doing heroes work every single day. And it's no wonder you're burnt out after the last 3 years we've gone through. It's no wonder you're burnt out. And so to see that kind of result, to see 2 to 3 minutes a day, over the course of the day, with some really amazing insight delivered along that pathway, to see it significantly change people's lives. And obviously that's going to lead to better outcomes for patients. It's going to be better for the medical system. And really, it's just like, you're going to be happier going home at the end of the day. That's what I think about all the time, Doreen. I used to work in a traditional work setting, 9 to 5 or 8 to 6, or sometimes overnight, depending on the assignment. And I didn't want that to bleed over into the relationship I have with my children and my husband. And we all bring our work home with us. And I think since I've started doing this work 3 years ago, I've just noticed how much I show up differently.
Wow. So good. I love everything that you just said. And it's making me think of our medical professionals. It's making me think of what we've just experienced in our country with the young football player who had a medical emergency publicly on national television. What we experienced was our nation coming together, feeling the stress of witnessing that medical emergency and wanting that kid to get better, right? And I just want to point out that our medical professionals face these kinds of stresses every day, and they have the same wants. They want their patients to get better. They want this kid to get better. They want this parent to get better. We've got our desires also. And so we've just got a little sample of it in America with this national situation, but our medical professionals live this daily. So they need tools to help process some of this so that they don't then take it home and have the weight of that on their shoulders every single day. And positive intelligence has a framework that can help you to manage all of this stress and process it all in a fantastically easy way.
You couldn't have said it better. And absolutely, we're seeing this has been an amazing coming together moment until you just pointed that out to somebody like me, a civilian who's never
Yes.
worked in the medical profession. I've rewatched that clip now, and I've seen the news, and I relive it differently now, having had previous conversations with you around, what that's like from a stress perspective. Yeah,
Yes.
you're right.
And to live in a chronic state of stress, most of our medical providers are living in survival mode because this is the stress that they face on a daily basis. So what we want to help you to do is to live a more full life, to live a life that you can enjoy your work again, love the work that you do, and still have that compassion, but even tap into it in a deeper and more meaningful way, without feeling the symptoms of burnout. And I love the study that you guys just did with that decrease in burnout with medical professionals. So let's just pivot a little bit here, because I want to hear about your personal journey to discovering the power of this positive intelligence.
Terrific. I love sharing this story. And I actually want you to share yours after I'm done, because I think for everyone watching, it will be really helpful because your path is different than mine. And the beautiful part is that you and I are both part of a movement. This is not about Doreen. It's not about Natalie. It's about the work of positive intelligence and mental fitness in the world. I actually found out about positive intelligence almost exactly 3 years ago. It was January of 2020. And the coach I was working with at the time had been invited to do this 6 weeks mental fitness program. And he asked me if I wanted to do it with him. And I said, yes. At the time I was leading a coaching function in a big Fortune 100 company. And I said, I consider this to be work, it's part of my job. And I would love to do this with you. And so I started the program. So I dove in to learn about the saboteur self-command. And within the first 2 weeks, I was completely hooked. It was, to me, the gap. It was the missing gap. So as you mentioned in my introduction, I've been doing self-development, coaching, leadership work for over 20 years. And there's always this gap. There's a reason we're not able to make the sustained change. And within 2 weeks, I saw a change happen in myself. I saw my own stress levels start to decrease. So I continued, I completed the 6-week program, and this is a lifelong work. So I still do the work every single day. I still use our app every single day. And what happened for me specifically, and why I'm sitting in the chair I am today, talking to you today, is in March of 2020, I decided to take to the internet, and through LinkedIn, I shared a video to say, what's getting me through these early days of the pandemic? Those early days when we thought, oh, maybe this will last a couple weeks or maybe a month. And, then we'll all go back to normal. Those days when we were all sort of jaded. So I shot a video and said, what's getting me through the early days of the pandemic are slapstick YouTube videos, taking walks with my family. And I held up the book you see behind me. I held up the Positive Intelligence book. And I said, I can tell a difference on the days when I do the work and the days I don't do the work. And I'm much better on the days I do the work. And that's what's getting me through. And the link the video connected me to the team at Positive Intelligence, and the rest is history. I built a relationship from there and have been a part of their team now for almost 3 years, helping them to bring this out into the world in a much bigger way. And through this work, I have gotten to work with awesome coaches like you who are around the world. That's what I also love about this. It's a global phenomenon. This is not specific to North America. And you all, for lack of better terms, are the boots on the ground. You're the ones who are serving in your communities. You're serving in your niches. You're serving in specific professions like medical professions every single day. And yeah, you are all the reason that I get up every day excited to continue this work, because it's a movement. And the more people who are mentally fit, the better outcomes we're going to see in our lives, in our government, in our businesses, in our families.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. So for my journey, I'm a registered nurse and I am an ICF certified coach. And so in the beginning of my coaching training, I was fascinated with the whole neuroscience aspect of it because I had been um, trying to break habits for years and patterns. That's why I'm obsessed with patterns and habits, because I had my own that were not serving me. And I'd get so far with with willpower, and I'd feel like I was white knuckling it. And then I'd always end up failing. So I started studying interpersonal neurobiology. I started studying how the body and the emotions and the brain are all connected. And I was fascinated with it. So I spent the first 4 or 5 years of my coaching business doing that. And then I discovered positive intelligence. And I was like, this brings it all together and ties it with a nice bow and gives you the exercises to help build those brain muscles. So for me, it just completed the package and is a huge component. The framework of positive intelligence is a huge component of the work I do now with my clients. So it's been a fascinating journey. But enough about me, because this is not about me. This is about these people. And so what steps could people take to further their mental fitness?
I'm going to give away a little of the secret sauce here, Doreen. If that's
Uh-oh.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for it because I think this group needs it. And I am going to walk you through what is considered our 4-step framework for building your mental fitness. And so this is something you can do in the moment when you're finding yourself in a stressful situation, when you need to reset. So I'm going to walk you through the 4-step framework to help you take at least one step in the direction of greater mental fitness. So the first step is, when you're in negative emotion, stop. Simply recognize that you're a negative emotion and that you are sabotaged. Your saboteur is at play. So first step. Second step is to do what we call PQ reps. And I'm not going to do a big, huge demo here, but a PQ rep is these 2-minute moments that Doreen and I have been talking about. And PQ reps can be done as brief as 10 seconds. You can do 20 minutes of PQ reps, whatever you're needed. But PQ reps is one single sensory experience that helps you pull yourself out of the sabotage brain into the sage brain. So you could be rubbing your fingertips together for 10 seconds, do deep breathing, focus on sounds, focus on visual cues around you, but pick one and focus on it. So your step 1, stop your negative emotion. Step 2, pause and do PQ rep and pick a sense and lean into that. The third step is to ask yourself, what is the gift or opportunity in this challenge I'm facing? Gift or opportunity, which sometimes is very hard at first because the challenge in front of you might seem insurmountable. So use this to be, a moment when somebody cuts you off in traffic the next time. Just say, what's the gift or opportunity? For me, I often think, well, glad I wasn't 5 minutes sooner. Maybe I would have been the one in the accident. That's to me the gift or opportunity moment. Gratitude. And then the fourth is, and I'm not going to go into these in too much detail, but is pick what we call a sage power and move forward with you're moving into your positive side of your brain. So we talk about all the sage powers in our more detailed program, but you get to pick a power that's something like empathy or explore or innovate, being curious. So you get to lean in. So quite simply, you stop when you're in negative emotion, do a PQ rep, recognize what the gift or opportunity is in the challenge, and you pick a positive emotion to move you forward.
Thank you so much for sharing that. This kind of is the theme of this whole summit. We are trying to get people to shift out of survival brain, which is one pathway we could take, and shift to another pathway. And so we've had different guests on that have approached it slightly different, but it's all going to the same place because that's where all the good stuff happens, in that region of your brain, right? That's where innovation happens, curiosity. That's where you're calm and you're laser focused. That's where you can discover all of the possibilities that you might not be seeing when we're stuck in the survival part of our brain. So this is where we want to go, like, and this is a scientifically proven way for us to get there.
And it's simple and it's approachable.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's easy enough to describe in 2 minutes.
Yes, exactly. And so, Natalie, if you had to leave us with one golden nugget before we break away, what would that be?
Okay, it's a 3-part golden nugget, but we're gonna okay, because it's the 2 pieces of insight I like to give in all of the sessions I deliver, and then how you can go start to learn for yourself. So the first and foremost is, we've talked a bit about this idea of saboteur, negative emotions, sage, positive emotions. So your saboteur, when you're led by your saboteur, you can achieve very great success. So many people think, I need this in my life. But with sage, you can generate your highest success and your greatest happiness.
Mm,
So I want everyone to pick that path.
yes.
I want you to have the success and the happiness. And it takes the mental muscle building work to get you there. And so I really invite you to take the first step and learn what your saboteurs are. It will be an eye-opening experience. I like to say, it's taking that assessment to me was like, when I read the report, it was like looking in a funhouse mirror. It was me, but it was distorted. And I now had a pathway to figure my way out of that funhouse so I could see myself more clearly.
Wow, Natalie, thank you so much for coming here today. I know that this is going to make a difference in someone's life, because it made a difference in my life and yours. If you would like to reach Natalie, or even just take this saboteur assessment, it's going to be in the link right below this video, and it's for you. And we want you to have this. We want you to just take this assessment and see where you stand, see how accurate it is for you, see what fun house you discover, as Natalie said. Natalie, thank you so much for joining us today. And I look forward to continued partnership with you in positive intelligence.
We are very grateful to have been invited to join you on this very, very important work you're doing. Thank you for having me, and to everyone listening, thank you for being here. And we're here for you. Doreen and I are here for you as you build this mental fitness journey. We can't wait to see how it goes for you.
Thank you. Have a good day.